Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me and check the video out today. I've got a little bit of a buyer's guide put together, guys. Here we're going to be talking about jerk baits for winter bass time fishing, and I've got 5 jerk baits laid out here. These are the ones that I use for all my winter fishing. So I want to go through each one of these jerk baits. They're all different, and I'm going to explain to you guys why they're so good for the winter time. And if you're interested in purchase some jerk baits, these are the ones that you should probably get. That's going to cover a wide range of situations. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, speaking of winter jerkbait fishing, I'd just like to invite you to swing by fishthemoment.com and check out my lake map breakdowns for wintertime. I've geared and built these maps for Fish the Moment specifically for wintertime fishing with jerkbaits. Got great information, great spots for it. And also, guys, if you purchase a map from the Fish the Moment website, that I'll put the link in the description here. I'm going to provide my email address. If you guys got any questions on the maps, you can shoot me an email and I'd be glad to go over it with you. Okay, now let's get into this here, guys. There is a lot of different jerk baits out there, different categories, different styles I use throughout the year, but there's 5 that I use specifically for wintertime fishing. And the wintertime fishing, it encompasses a pretty vast, broad spectrum of water conditions and water temperatures, because I consider winter jerkbait fishing being December, January, and February for the most part. Those are usually the 3 months where you have your coldest water temperature. Usually January is going to have your lowest water temperatures, and you're going to have a decrease in water temperature through December, bottoming out sometime in January, and then a slow, very slow rise depending upon the weather patterns into February. And there are some specific things about jerkbait fishing that are just conducive to winter fishing, and that's why I've got these 5 particular ones out there. And guys, no surprise on this is all the ones I'm talking about are going to be Megabass jerkbaits, different styles of them. And I may make some people mad here, but there's no other jerkbait that can compete with the Megabass. That's just the way it is. I mean, Megabass sets the bar. Everybody else tries to reach that bar and they can't reach it. It's sort of like drinking Coke. It's like you can drink original classic Coca-Cola, which is a Megabass jerkbait, or you can buy that generic 25-cent cola at the discount store with another jerkbait. That's just the reality of the situation. Every pro uses Megabass, even if they use some other stuff occasionally. It is the superior jerkbait on the market simply because of the components, the attention to detail, the paint, the action on it. Just the entire process is just next level. So, and you know, no surprise if you guys follow the channel, you know what I think about that. And you know, I'm pretty honored to have a part in designing the Megabass Vision 110 back in the late 90s. So definitely, you know, been in the middle of that for a long time. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the 5 here, guys. And also, like I said, I'll put all these in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. And guys, you can get them, they got 20% off on everything on the Black Friday sale through the end of November. So man, if you want to get you some jerk baits now, there's not going to be a better time to save some money on them. But I'll link each one of these lures in my description of the video here in this video. So if you guys want to get some there. Okay, I'm going to go through the list here. We're going to start through it, and I'm going to sort of explain the scenario and the situation where I use every particular one. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the months as far as the type of, you know, ones I use based upon the condition. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Megabass 110+1. Now one of the baits I do not have in this lineup is just a straight Megabass Vision 110 that'll run about 5 to 7 feet deep. I've got a couple deeper versions here. This is the Megabass 110+1. And then also I've got the Megabass 110+2. You can see the lip size variations here. So depending upon the pound test line you're using, the 110+1, say on 8 to 10 pound test line on a long cast, you're going to get this bait down close to 10 feet on a long cast, a super long cast. And the 110+2, same thing on a super, super long cast. This thing is going to be digging down close to 15 feet. So these are going to be 2, you know, what I consider deeper type jerk baits, you know, which are really good for the winter time because a lot of those fish tend to be deeper. Now, the times that I use the 110+1 and 110+2 are usually in December and February. I don't use these very often in January because the larger size jerkbaits do not work as well in super cold water. I've got smaller jerkbaits we're going to talk about for January. So these are my December and February models here. Now, the determination on which one I use as far as the depth attainment, it has to do with quite a few different things. Depending upon the lake that you're fishing, you know, fish are going to be at different depths. If you're in a clear water environment where you have a mixed species lake, say spotted bass, largemouth, and a smallmouth bass, and you have water visibilities of over, say, 5 foot in clarity, a lot of times you need to get down super deep. You know, that's when I'd use the 110+2 is when I feel those fish are deeper. And also on those days that are a little bit brighter conditions, like you know, bright light intensity, sunny days, maybe some of those type of days that you know, have, you know, not much wind, where you just need to get that bait down deeper. And one of the ways that you can figure this out as far as the depth of the bait needs to go is graph around the areas you're fishing and try to pay attention to where you see most of the bait fish. Now, the bait fish, you don't have to be at the same level of the bait fish, because in clear water, fish will come a long way to hit a jerkbait, but you just need to have some idea of how deep the bait are. If you're seeing bait down there, say 20 to 25 feet deep, that's okay, because if you make a long cast with the 110+2, you're going to be getting down to 15 feet or so. And even if that bait is down there 20, 25 feet, you're going to pull those fish up to get it. So the deeper the bait, that's when I go to the 110+2. But for most people, the 110+1 is going to be the real workhorse in December and February. A lot of people don't fish this bait on as light a line as what I do. A lot of people will fish this on a bait caster with like 10 to 12. You guys know that on all my jerk baits, I use nothing but spinning tackle on all of them. We've talked about that before. I'll get into it a little bit here. But a lot of times people will use 110+1 for the traditional, you know, December and February fishing, because a lot of the lakes across the country, the fish aren't as deep as they are in those super clear water lakes. So if you have a lake with average clarity in it of like, say, 2.5 to 4 feet, which a lot of lakes have that visibility in the wintertime in December and February, the 110+2, which will get down to close to 10 feet, is a pretty good lure. It'll cover a lot of different depths, you know, for that. So that's another thing. And another real good deal with the 110+2 is, guys, this bait dives deep very quickly. It's not like a jerk bait with a more of a 110 lip where it darts side to side. This bait will dig fast. So this is a really good bait if you're fishing like a steep bank where you're casting straight into the bank and you need to get that bait down in a hurry. Sometimes you don't want a jerk bait that's moving horizontal. You want that bait to dig down based upon the angle of the bank you're fishing. So 110+1, 110+2 are my workhorses December and February. Now, the other three that I'm going to talk about, they will work all 3 months of the year. I mean, every single one. But these are the ones that I really focus on in January, or when the water temperature is really cold and they're a little bit smaller jerk baits. Now, one of the things that you're going to find in jerkbait fishing is as the water temperature falls, they want a smaller jerkbait. You will catch just as big a fish, but you'll catch 3 or 4 times as many on a small jerkbait. Now, the three that I use, this is the new Megabass. This is called the X Nanahan. Again, I'll link all these in the description. This is the X Nanahan +1, X Nanahan +2 here, and it's very similar to like what I was talking about, the 110+1 and 110+2 in terms of the lip design. The X Nanahan 110+1, I usually fish this on, well, actually I fish both of them usually on 6-pound tests, Seaguar and Vizex. But the 110+1, the X Nanahan +1, this bait's going to get down probably 7 or 8 feet, you know, on 6-pound line, and the X Nanahan +2 is going to knock that 10-foot zone with 6-pound test line. So that's the depth attainment here. But you can see the noticeable difference in the size of this bait compared to the 110 model here. So it's a lot smaller bait, as you can see. And this is key, guys, when you're dealing with clear water or clean water, it doesn't have to be really clear. These little 3-inch, 2.5 or 3-inch jerk baits, this is the size of the minnow the fish hit. And I rarely fish with anything except a small jerkbait in the month of January, and it's followed up by this Megabass 110 plus 1 Junior. Now this is a 110 plus 1 lip on here, 110 Junior. You can see it's just a little bit smaller than the 110, a little bit downsized, but it's still bigger than the nanahan plus 1. Now, the time that I would use the 110 plus 1 Junior is if I have a little bit more off-colored water. So say, for example, we were fishing down at Grand Lake in Oklahoma in January, where the water visibility is probably 3 feet. I'd maybe want just a little bit larger bait, so I'd use the 110 plus 1 Junior. But if we drove over to Bull Shoals Lake or Table Rock Lake in January, I'd be going with the nanahan, the smaller version, in a little bit cleaner water there. So those are the 5 jerkbaits that I use. Now, colors, they range the gamut. You know, there's a lot of different colors. I don't really have a favorite color that I use from time to time. In general, how I select my colors is based upon the cloud cover and a little bit about the water clarity. But I'm not fishing off-colored water in the wintertime. I mean, I consider off-color to be 3 feet, but my lure color selection stays the same. If it's bright conditions, like, you know, like bright light intensity, you have a sunny day or with not much wind and you got some really clean water, I'll want some type of a translucent finish, some type of a see-through finish. If it's cloudy, usually, I want some type of a flat finish, like a matte finish. And if it's windy, and I don't care if it's cloudy or, you know, sunny or whatever, on windy days, I want some type of a metallic finish. So I either use metallic, translucent finish, or flat finishes based upon the skylight conditions. And another thing you'll find with it is on tough fishing conditions where you have, you know, really clear water and finicky fish, those translucent natural colors, you know, always work a little bit better. And conversely with that, the bigger fish, even in the wintertime, will go for the brighter colors, the colors that stand out more, like, you know, some type of a, you know, pearl like that glows more in the water. You may not get as many bites on it, but those bigger fish are more aggressive to that brighter color, and the numbers of fish are more susceptible to the more translucent colors. The other thing with that, little tip with it I'll pass along, guys, is when you're working a jerkbait in the wintertime, once that water temperature starts to get either at its coldest level or within about 5 degrees of its coldest level, you don't want to do the jerk, jerk, pause anymore. Jerk, jerk, pause. That's something for warmer water. Here's a big tip, and we'll get into this in more videos because we'll do quite a few jerkbait videos over the next few months, is in the wintertime, when you get that bait down to the deepest level, let's say, you know, you're working that jerkbait down like this and then it levels out and that's its deepest point right there. Once you feel that jerkbait is at its deepest level, stop it and just twitch your rod like that. Just twitch it almost like you're crappie fishing. Just shake that rod. So it's almost like, you know, I'd be jerking it down there and I'm just shaking it like that in one spot. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep this bait as deep as it can go, as long as it can go. So I'm just sort of shaking it like that and just barely moving it forward, just like that. And that's a really good technique to catch bass when the water temperature is really cold. So anyway, guys, that's my 5 favorite there. Like I said, I'll link every one of these individual jerkbaits in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. If you guys use that link, it's a good way to support the channel, and also it's a good way to get you some good deals on the Black Friday sale. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.